I look like a fucking highlighter.
For some reason, I went multiple blue tabs. Blue picking going on.
And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock Sunday edition. It is December 27th. I couldn't really see the date on my computer. My microphone arm was in the way, but it's not important. I'm excited to talk some basketball. Football going decently well for me so far, so I'd like that slate to end too. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Team McBee, Terry McBride. Terry, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, pal. Had kind of different day than you for football, but hoping to turn that around on the basketball slate. I think was riding a little bit too much of that KC Atlanta game in various spots, so didn't really work out for me when that one was tied at 7 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that one I could not believe. Top stack, not quite today. Hey, look, when it says 40% top stack odds, that just means that 60% of the time it's not that one. That's the key takeaway there.
Yep.
We have a ton to talk about. Pretty big slate. We've had some news come in. No Russell Westbrook today, opening things up a little bit for the Wizards. Plenty to talk about. No more Cody Zeller for the Hornets. It's possible LaMelo plays a little bit more. We'll touch on everything. We've got a ton of time here. And, my FanDuel sims are done. So let me go ahead and close that Excel workbook on computer number 2. And then we'll get everybody to go ahead and hit that like button. 466 plus people going to be trickling in the whole way. So hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. That's the biggie. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. I've got Alex's Boom Bust tool open right now. Last update was 15 seconds ago, which, not going to lie, seems like perfect timing. Let's just talk a little bit in general. I've got DK pulled up to start, but lucky for everybody on here now that plays on FanDuel. You don't normally get this. I'm playing FanDuel tonight and only on FanDuel. Terry's playing on FanDuel and only on FanDuel. This might be a little bit more of a FanDuel-centric show than it usually is. So we will be touching on DraftKings, don't worry. But you guys normally complain a little bit that we don't touch on FanDuel enough. Today's going to be a little bit different. The chalkiest... What'd you say?
A little love for the blue side today.
Absolutely. Chalkiest player on the slate on DraftKings tonight, and it's not particularly close. Bismack Biyombo, 3,800, taking over the center reins for Cody Zeller. Basically just priced inappropriately. I like it. I don't really have much of an issue with the ownership. Boom Bust Tool says that he's a little bit over-owned, but any qualms with Biyombo being sort of the best play of the day on DK? And then give me your thoughts on FanDuel for how you feel about Biyombo.
Yeah, I mean, just going purely by the boom bust at 3,800 on DK, I think he's kind of a must. You're getting a nice big boom percentage. Really, he's not drawing very much ownership on either site, so he's kind of intriguing from that perspective. Just looking, he was they're, like you said, they're filling up the Zeller minutes, so he played 30 last night. I think he's definitely in play for us again here. We see he's a 0.94 FanDuel point per minute guy last year, only 0.79 FanDuel point per minute this year so far. But drawing, he's like a 15-ish% usage guy, so under a point per minute. But I think if he's getting out there, getting 30 minutes, that's all you really need from him for 3,800. So definitely, I'm with you. I like the play, and I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense. On FanDuel, of course, we talk about the opportunity cost at center with only being able to play one. We mentioned that a lot yesterday. It's going to be something we talk about a lot throughout the year. So I think that's going to hit us again over on FanDuel, but where you can play him, in multiple spots on DK. Love it.
Yeah, no-brainer play on DraftKings just because of the value. FanDuel, I'm not all that interested. Just finished my sim off. Shows up in the optimal 4% of the time. He's really sort of uneventful there at 4,500. Touching on a couple other of the high-owned plays, at least on DK for right now. We take a pretty big step back. So Biyombo, clear chalk. We roll it back a little bit, down in just the 20s. Wendell Carter Jr. We've got LeBron James, no Anthony Davis tonight. And then we've got point guard for the Wizards, 3,100. Raul Neto getting the start. No Russell Westbrook, should soak up a ton of time. Yes, I said Raul, just in case man behind the virtual glass, Jordan Klein, can hear me. You don't pronounce the R like an R. It's an H. Raul Neto. We're teaching some Portuguese today. anyway. How are you feeling about Neto as a pay down option for DK? And how are you feeling about LeBron James as the pay up option without Anthony Davis?
Yeah, I think LeBron makes a ton of sense. You name three players. LeBron obviously stands out kind of differently from the other two guys. So I think he makes a ton of sense to get to with AD off the floor. We know the minutes are going to be there. We know he's going to see a ton of usage in that situation. I don't have the usage without AD on the floor from last year in front of me, but I'm guessing you might have it handy. If you do, I'd be curious just to hear it. But we know it's going to be a lot, so no issues with getting to LeBron at all.
I don't have it handy, but I can pull it up pretty quickly. Let's see what we've got.
While you look for that, I'll talk on the Neto side of things. I'm just
go for it.
Washington here. So, we know he's going to be a discount, 3,500 min price on FanDuel, 3,100 over on DK. You can play him in a bunch of different spots, of course, over on DK. Not a huge projection for him, but he doesn't really need to hit a giant number, of course. We've got him about 18 fantasy points on both sites. And not drawing very much ownership. So I think he's definitely in play as a discount option. We've got him at 24 minutes. That's what that projection's coming off of. So you mentioned with Russ out, you might see him get a little bit more run even than that. We might be a little low on that projection. So if he cracks that 28 mark, you could see an even nicer score from him. So definitely think he's in play, probably a little bit more so on DK for me than over on FanDuel. But definitely could, I think he's a building block for sure on this slate.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about paying down for Neto on FanDuel. I mean, he is the flat minimum. That's fine. I think there are some other value options. I think I prefer Denny. I think I prefer Denny at small forward for $200 more. We have Cedi Osman at 3,800, who should see some additional minutes with Isaac Okoro out. LeBron James over the past year and change, 1,071 minutes without AD on the floor, 34% usage rate. So nothing too crazy.
Yeah, but we know, I mean, it's not a giant boost, but we know that his numbers are going to be there as LeBron James. I mean, I'm happy to pay up for him in most situations, and definitely with AD off the floor, this is one. And then, we know with AD out, not to get too deep into that game, but we know Kuzma's probably going to get some of that usage and pick up, and he's seeing a lot of that ownership get directed his way. So might not be getting as much attention on LeBron as he merits, I don't think. Yeah. And only 10K on over on DK, 24% ownership. I'm happy to play that.
I got to point this out. Leo the lineup in YouTube chat says, this looks like a guy talking to himself from the future. I'm not going to lie. That's killing me. I like it. That is funny, though. I appreciate that.
See where they're getting it.
Yeah. I don't have any Giants gear, unfortunately. Or maybe, fortunately. I don't think it matters all that much.
Yeah, and you don't want to have Giants gear.
I don't think I've ever owned any Giants gear.
And you're a guy with a lot of different, your jerseys from different sports, and it's not about your teams. Like my stuff's mostly my teams. Like this is a Rangers shirt, actually. I'm not going double giant.
Genius behind the virtual glass, Jordan Klein, ladies and gentlemen. Although I don't know if you were even able to hear him say that or not. I don't know if he's just in our ear. I assume he's just in our ear. It's not important. He didn't understand the joke. The boss man, Alex Baker, is in chat, however. His mind is blown by that information, so that's exciting. Let's touch a little bit more on some of the guys on the boom bust tool, because that pulled back up. I lost it as I was trying to find LeBron's usage rate. Other guys that are relatively highly owned on DraftKings, I'm going to point out some of them that have pretty high boom potential. Giannis, north of 20% ownership. Nikola Vucevic, north of 20% ownership. And then Bradley Beal, without Russell Westbrook, also north of 20% ownership. All three of those guys pretty highly likely to boom relative to the rest of the slate. How are you feeling about pay up options on DraftKings? We've got quite a few options, whether it's LeBron, Curry, Luka obviously was on the early slate, but he would have been the most expensive person. So Giannis, LeBron, Embiid. We're still waiting on news for Karl Anthony Towns. We've got Devin Booker at 9,500. I mean, there's a lot of potential options to pay up for. Who stands out most to you?
I think Beal is definitely popping at 8,900 without Russ on the floor. I think he's just going to get all the volume he can handle. And we saw him go off just last night. He put up, what did he have last night? 39 points. I'm just pulling up my notes here. and he's not on the Magic, so I shouldn't be looking at that part of my notes. Yeah, 39 points on 14 of 24 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, added 7 boards, 5 assists, and 2 steals. I think that's a no-brainer play on both sides, really. And, the ownership is there, but I think it's good chalk. I think that's one that we can definitely dive into and ride. You mentioned Booker. I think he's definitely in play, 9,500. I think Zach LaVine is kind of sneaky, maybe. 7,900 over on DK, not very expensive. Kind of didn't get there for us last night. I mentioned him last night. I kind of want to go back there again over on DK at 79. Not super sneaky now that I'm looking at 27% ownership, but you can move him around a little bit on where you're playing him. So I think he's definitely a building block over there. Chris Paul a little bit in that Phoenix offense, possibly. Just looking at some of the higher owned guys.
I like that. I like that Zach LaVine call. He's popping up pretty highly for me on DK. Just 6th in my own personal GPP metric. I like him quite a bit on FanDuel as well at 7K. Probably a guy that I'm going to have pretty solid exposure to as I start to make my lineup. So just officially clicked go on the crunch. So once that spits out, I can actually talk about some exposures. As I mentioned at the top of the show, for those that are just getting in now, because we're up to 1,500 people. So that was a pretty quick climb. Hit that like button if you want to. Terry and I are both playing FanDuel only today. So normally, we're getting a lot of DK talk. Today, we're going to be a little bit more FanDuel centric for you guys. Man, I don't like the way that some of these lineups are coming out. I don't want Kyle Kuzma. I mean, I'm going to roster Kyle Kuzma. He's 4,200 and AD is out, but I don't like seeing his name. I don't like seeing Patrick Williams, even though I'm happy with having him. Anybody that stands out to you, let's just go from a boom bust tool perspective right now. Anybody that stands out to you as going wildly under-owned that you think people should be looking at on DraftKings? Yeah, and then we'll switch it over to FanDuel.
Just resort here by boom. At the center spot, you mentioned him, I think, either just before we got on or at the top of the show, but I think Thomas Bryant could be kind of interesting. 6,500, really nice boom percentage and not a ton of ownership. There's some there, but it's not really crazy. By the same token, similar, same position, $6,600 James Wiseman. I don't think he's getting enough attention on either side. We've seen him put up a couple nice games already to start his career. Should be getting plenty of run. Marquise Chris is out for the rest of the year now. Draymond's not going to be in that offense. We expected for part of the day that he was going to be back, but he's not. So I think Wiseman's not getting enough attention really at all. So I can definitely go there. Maybe Vuk. Vukovic is...
I like that call.
A little under 20% ownership. So it's not super sneaky, but I think the numbers are there for him. And then we mentioned Biyombo earlier, but probably worth mentioning again, just at that price and that ownership.
One guy that I think is really slipping through the cracks, he is 3rd on DraftKings in our leverage metric, which is new to the boom bust tool. Joel Embiid, 9,800, not getting really any love whatsoever, but a decent enough chance to hit a big number. And when push comes to shove, it's Joel Embiid. I'd have at least a little bit of interest there if he's going wildly unowned. A lot of guys going unowned, though. You mentioned Wiseman. I have him as my 3rd favorite center on FanDuel, so I will happily be getting to Wiseman there. A lot of guys actually from Golden State going a bit under-owned. Wiseman, Oubre, Eric Paschall, Andrew Wiggins. I know not a lot of people probably trying to go to Eric Paschall right now, but still no Draymond Green. He has been ruled out for today once again. Dennis Smith Jr. out for tonight's game. We also got Quickly is out. Obi Toppin is out. So probably going to see a couple extra minutes for maybe Frankie Smokes. Not that I like him or anything, but they're just kind of thin in the backcourt right now. Maybe a boost to Elfrid Payton.
Yeah, maybe. And then definitely for Alec Burks, they've been throwing some backup point guard minutes to him. And Tibbs actually wants to do that. He's on the record saying, I want to give Burks some of those backup point guard minutes. So I could see him going there. And Tibbs, just as much as he likes defense, he is not apparently a Frankie Ntilikina guy. And organizationally, nobody there wants him. They couldn't really trade him in the offseason. They're probably going to trade him sometime during the season. So I think you'll definitely, see some of those minutes. I think DSJ got 12 or something last night. The point guard position for that team is just a complete disaster, though, right now. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and it has been for a hot minute now. Pour one out for the old Knicks.
Yeah.
All right, let's touch a little bit on FanDuel now. That way we can talk at least a little bit confidently about the things that we are doing. And I'm just going to go position by position quickly through everything. That way we can keep it structured. Since FanDuel makes it easy, we don't have to worry about guys bouncing around. Who is your favorite point guard option on the slate?
Favorite point guard option on the slate? Taking anything, taking ownership and things out of account, or just pure like boom and projection wise?
CD Lamb touchdown. Yuck. Anyway, I really needed that to be Amari Cooper, but that's neither here nor there. Let's say this. Who do you expect to be most exposed to at point guard?
I think despite the fact that he's going to have some significant ownership on him, I think it's probably still Steph Curry.
I would agree with you. He is quite clearly my top option. When I ran my sim, Curry showed up in the optimal 46% of the time because for some stupid reason, he's 8,300. No one else is even within like 28% of him. De'Aaron Fox is my number 2 at 18%. So it's basically Curry plus everyone else. I'm going to be having quite a bit of Steph Curry. I don't mind the ownership, although he is pretty heavily chalky, coming in north of 50% right now. I don't get the sense that's going to slow me down. I'd rather get different elsewhere. It's Steph Curry, and the fact that he is priced like he is comical at best. I don't understand why it's not changing. I got it for the first night of the season. I don't understand why it's not going up now.
Yeah, that's what I don't get for sure. It's like 8,300 is just a broken price. And we've seen FanDuel use broken pricing on guys in every sport all year long. So it's not a huge surprise, but like, I don't know. I just don't know even how they got that low to begin with, really. And yeah, I don't know why it's down there right now. So I think when I end up sorting everything, if he's not in probably 90 lineups, I would be surprised. I mean, he's going to be all over the place for me tonight. Just taking a look at some of the other guys that are near the top, if we're going by boom percentage, which is an easy thing to sort by for this conversation. What do you think of, there's De'Aaron Fox is there. It looks like Drew Holiday is not really getting much ownership. I'm curious what you think about him.
So when I look at my sim stuff, we've got Drew Holiday at 7K. I think that I would rather get to Chris Paul at 6,800, grading out a little bit better for me. I do probably tend to over roster Chris Paul. Guys that are like ultra efficient players in general tend to become a little bit problematic for me. But I see Drew sort of very similarly to DeJounte Murray and to Malcolm Brogdon. They're all in that $700 to $7,500 range. And I think they're all kind of like 5% guys. I don't get the sense that I'm going to have much Drew. Are you getting to a little bit more Drew Holiday?
No, I kind of saw him there, and that's why I asked, because he wasn't coming up a ton. Just and looking at the projection, the crunch I ran with, I think these are the site projections. Either way, he came up like 10% across 500 lineups, where Chris Paul, who you mentioned, came up around 30% across that many lineups. So I was getting the same result as you. I was curious as to what you thought of it there.
Okay. Looks like somebody is not pulling through in my ownership correctly. Time to figure out who is causing me issues, because I'm getting all sorts of error messages. Not at all what I'm looking to do at 618, but 1,700 people in here, 237 likes. Unrelated to this NBA show right now, you guys were fantastic this morning for the NFL show. We had 4,500 concurrent subscribers or concurrent watchers. I believe that is the highest that we have ever had. Well north of 1,000 likes, close to 1,500. So thank you guys very much. It's really awesome to see such a crowd, or at least a virtual crowd, show up. It's going to be great in like 2 or 3 years when we all just put on our VR headsets and we do this show like it's a TED Talk and everybody's just sitting in like a stadium seating listening us to a talk. I'm excited for that.
I like it for sure. That's weird when I think about it. When it never occurs to me, like right now I'm talking to you on Zoom, Jordan's sitting there laughing in the background, and that's basically the conversation I'm having. When I take a minute to think about it outside of my body and think like, wow, we were basically talking in front of Carnegie Hall while we were on that show, because that's like the capacity of some of those theaters, so it's pretty cool. And really appreciate everybody joining us out there. All those people are the ones that make it happen for us. So gotta love it.
I have tried my best to like put that in perspective in a similar way of just thinking like how like 4,500 is a lot. You don't think about it like that, generally speaking. But if you put 4,500 people in one spot, it's a lot of people, man. That's a hell of a lot of people. All right, Kevin Knox. Nice to find out that you are the guy that's causing my crunches to go wrong. I assume it's because you have like a stupid thing on your name. Yep, it is.
Yeah,
you are Kevin Knox the second.
Second.
Yeah, that actually didn't fix it. We'll get to it. It's not important.
Just take him out of the system entirely. He'll be out of the league soon enough.
He probably will. RJ Barrett will be right behind him too. Ooh, sorry. Too soon. Too soon.
Come on. Yeah, it is too soon for RJ.
It really is. Okay, back to positions on FanDuel. Anybody that you think is slipping through the cracks, going wildly under-owned for what you're looking for today?
Maybe Kyrie again. He's a guy who pops for me, and we saw him go off the other day. Not the greatest boom percentage, just based on he's an expensive guy. You're not paying down for him, but he's under 10% ownership over on FanDuel, and he's a guy that I'm always happy to get to if I've got the money. So I could definitely see going there. Just going down the list here, I'll probably have a little bit of Dejounte Murray, just again based on projection over ownership, and kind of mid-range in our boom bust tool there. So those guys, if you wanted to get to Ish Smith as a cheap guy, there's people on him, so he's 22%. I could see getting there, but it's definitely not sneaky. And you asked about sneaky.
I did ask a little bit about sneaky. I'm just going to read off my top options coming out of the sim, regardless of ownership. So Curry is 1, De'Aaron Fox is 2. Curry very much on his own tier, not even remotely close to Fox or anybody else. So it's Fox, Kobe White, Chris Paul, and Lonzo, rounding out the bottom of my top 5. Everybody else is basically coming in a bit lower. I thought I would get a little bit more Ben Simmons, and then I saw his price was $9,600, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why I'm not getting Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Ben is way down this list. There he is. He's by boom, he's our 19th point guard on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. That price is insane. We'll transition over to shooting guard now. Basically, to me, we've got 3 guys at the top. That would be Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Zach LaVine. How are you feeling about those 3 at shooting guard? And do you have another guy that stands out to you?
Yeah, firmly with you on all 3 of those guys. I definitely think they're going to make up most of, if not all of my shooting guard ownership. It's going to be tough to get to anybody else, particularly with what we were saying about Beal. Really like all 3 of those guys. $5,800 Buddy Hield, not too bad. Definitely could see playing some of him. Maybe a little bit of Bledsoe. They're both like mid-range on the ownership. You mentioned Wiggins earlier. In my notes, it basically just says, remember Andrew Wiggins sucks. Never a guy I'm excited to roster, but the price isn't bad. The boom percentage is there and the ownership's not there. 1.06 fantasy points per minute last year is 0.066 in our very, very small sample for this year. So he's just started out really slowly and been bad, but I think he's justifiable based on the boom percentage and the overall ownership. Terrence Ross, we saw go off at a cheap price last night. I think he could do the same thing, get some minutes off the bench and drain some threes for us. So definitely think he's in play there. And maybe a little D'Angelo Russell. They're both right around the same, just under 10% owned and a little bit over 20% on the boom percentage there. So I can see getting to those guys as well as kind of mix and match options.
I think it's impossible for me right now to figure out why I can't get Kevin Knox to show up. And yet now I've figured it out. The moment I was talking smack about myself, I figured out my mistake. It's incredible. It's incredible. We'll be taking some questions in a bit, guys. So if you have them, sit on them for now. We'll do questions for like the last 15 minutes or so of the show. We're going to transition now to the small forward spot on FanDuel. This is a really, really tricky position. Normally, I'm more than happy just paying up or just fully punting the position. Now, I think we have options up and down the line. Denny at 3,700, TJ Warren at 5,300, a guy that stands out a little bit to me. You can go to $9,500 Durant. Chetty, another perfectly reasonable pay down option. Tobias Harris, Brandon Ingram, Patrick Williams. These guys are in every single salary tier. I think they all look super similar in the grand scheme of things. I haven't even mentioned LeBron James at 10,800. What are you doing at small forward? Because I think it's the toughest position to crack today.
Yeah, LeBron's a big standout there. And then just clicking over to some of my exposures, I'm getting a lot of just even distribution. So it kind of plays right into what you were saying there. And getting some TJ Warren, I'm getting some Gordon Hayward in that. I'm getting some Tobias. I'm getting some Ingram. So up and down the list, I'm all over that. The guy you mentioned, Avdija, I'm not getting to a ton of so far, only 2-ish% across a good amount of lineups. So that's one I might look at as I do my sort and tweak. What's your?
Do you have his projection in front of you right now, by any chance? From the site?
I do. Yeah, I should. Let me just find him here. 16 FanDuel points.
15?
16 FanDuel points, 26 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I've got him a hair higher than that right now. I'm a believer. I think those extra shots are going to get distributed, and I think that could be him. At least I hope that it's him. Russ being out it's big, because it's not as if Denny has any sort of history with like a high usage point guard on the Wizards. It's fully flying blind. It's not like he had any past history with Wall and we saw any boost. This is going to be tricky to figure out. I don't mind getting there at 3,700. That's the type of guy that I'm willing to take the flyer on. I'd much rather get to Denny than to Chetty, given the two, just because I know what I'm getting out of Chetty, and it's usually heartburn.
Yeah, I think he got there last night, right? Just
you're asking the wrong person for last night. I am so bogged down in Christmas.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of my football watching time just reading through game recaps and trying to catch up so that I knew some of this stuff. But he was one that popped out because I said, "Oh wow, yeah, that's a weird line from him." He had a good night, 25 minutes, 22 points on 7 of 12, 4 of 7 from 3. So he had a good Chetty kind of night. But yeah, he's not a guy I'm ever happy to get to. I'm hoping that when I do my sorting process, he's not nearly as popular at this position as he is here. I'd rather have a ton of LeBron, and then I'd rather have maybe some Hayward, maybe some Warren. What do you think of Hayward? Do you think he's playable tonight? Do you think they're just trying to break him and run him into the ground? He's just getting a ton of minutes.
Not popping up for me all that much. I think that he's going a bit over-owned. So I do not get the sense that I'm going to be having much Gordon Hayward. I got to hope he dodges that. 7,200 is pretty healthy, especially if, maybe they're starting to go to a little bit more LaMelo. We saw Borrego talk about it a little bit. Not that I think that affects Gordon Hayward at all. I mean, his minutes aren't going anywhere, but LaMelo being out there is just one guy that's going to have the ball in his hands. And luckily, thank you very much, YouTube chat, for letting me know that Amari Cooper dropped a touchdown. Fantastic. That is not at all good news to me. I'm going to put this out there right now. I don't know if I'm going to have much LeBron James tonight.
No?
I don't think so. It's not looking like that, at least.
I haven't put anything into the sort yet. I've got a fair amount of lineups. Across 1,000 lineups, he's in 12% of them. So, I mean, it's not a huge thing, but I expect that might tick up when I, toward my the top 150. I think he'll be in a decent amount of them. But he's getting pretty much even up ownership, around 25% ownership, around 25% probability of booming. So, very big price tag on him. Like you said, there's so much value and so many cheap options or mid-range options at the position that it does make sense to maybe get away from him. It's just so tempting with all that usage sitting there and that opportunity with AD out.
Any other small forwards you want to touch on? Coming up at the halfway point of this show, almost 1,800 people and 337 likes. This basketball crew is good. Otto Porter, 4,900 on FanDuel. I don't love him. I don't really want to play him, but 30-ish% boom, not drawing a ton of ownership. One of the less popular guys on that Chicago team, it looks like, overall. So, maybe, but not a guy, again, that I'm really excited about. I'm going to end up with too much Denny and too much Patrick Williams at small forward. I think I'm going to pay down a little bit more at the spot. So I mostly just need to dodge LeBron, which... how bad can that go?
Yeah, you'll be fine. Well, LeBron cost me quite a bit of money by missing a bunny one night, so anything can happen with one of the best players of all time.
Nicholas in YouTube chat says, LBJ will go off. He always does when people fade him in chat.
He knows. He's sitting there in the locker room reading this before the game, so he knows.
Yeah, I'm sure LeBron spends a lot of time in YouTube chats. All right, let's transition over to
the DFS podcasts, just looking for motivation. That's LeBron James.
LeBron is actually legalized in Slack. It's been a big secret the entire time. Slow rolling us. At the power forward spot, I've got two guys popping up more than anybody else. One would be Zion at 7,900. The other, unfortunately for me, Kyle Kuzma at 4,200. They are the two guys that pop up the most in my sim. Zion is the guy that I'm getting the most of in my crunches. Kuzma a little bit less so, just because I think that he's a tad over-owned. Where are you going at power forward?
Yeah, I'm getting to quite a bit of both of those guys. Getting to just looking at the exposures, getting to some Giannis, getting to a little bit of LMA, which I did last night and I regret and don't love ever. Getting to some Julius Randle, who another guy I think the Knicks are just going to run him into the ground. He is not a player that I really like. I don't think he's. I think he's a capable guy, but he's not a guy I want to build a franchise around by any means. But for a DFS night, perfectly fine. A little bit of PJ Washington in there. Sabonis, we saw have dominant night last night. I like him in here, getting a little bit of him. So this is just reading off the top without taking some of the ownership into consideration out of the crunch. So flipping over to here where there's ownership, Sabonis I definitely think is in play for me. Nice projection, nice boom percentage on both the site stuff and in mine. And only drawing 12% ownership. 9,100 is a big price tag to pay for him. But a lot of the guys I like are not super cheap options at the position. So I can see getting to some of him, just kind of working him in around the edges of maybe a lineup that Giannis isn't going into, maybe stick him in alongside of Zion and pay down somewhere else.
I'm getting a little bit of Marvin Bagley, 5,800, not picking up much ownership at all, 4%. I think that's a guy that you can try to get a little weird with if you're interested. I think Eric Paschall is going to go a little bit underowned once again. People probably super not happy with that dude, and I'm cool with it at 4,500. At some point in time, he's going to go back to being like a mildly decent offensive player. At least I hope so. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rostering him and being unhappy about it. Anybody else that you expect to be fading?
I don't have much love for Kevin Love. I did not do that on purpose, but he's not a guy who's popping up for me. I don't expect him to get a ton of run. They went to overtime last night when we were expecting him to get like 22-ish minutes coming back from a injury or just coming back from not starting the season, and he ended up playing 37 and a half minutes. I do not think he's going to get a ton of run tonight, so I don't really want any part of him. Interested to see where that goes within that lineup. That might be what's driving some of the Chetty. Larry Nance, he was terrible, but he might get a little bit more, a couple more minutes if Love's not playing. So maybe those guys sneak in, but certainly not plays I'm excited about. Just taking a look through the other guys. Yeah, nothing really jumping out at me. I mentioned LMA. He's not drawing a lot of ownership, and he's got a decent projection and a decent boom. And we know the minutes are there. We know that the usage is there, but not a guy I'm excited about. Just let me down last night, so a little bit of burn on him for me. Maybe a little super cheap Jay Crowder. He's getting 15% ownership, so he is getting a little bit of attention, but I think he makes things happen if you want to pay down at the position or get risky and double pay down with him and Kuzma. Get really creative about things.
I like the Jay Crowder call. He is my third highest exposed power forward right now, coming in with about 15% ownership. I'm happy to get there. I've got him a little bit north in his sim results. So 4,300 seems like a perfect price there, but Zion is the guy that I'm getting to at power forward. And I'm going to be a little bit light on Kyle Kuzma. I'm not really comfortable with that, but ultimately I don't like being away from both LeBron and Kuzma because that seems like I'm giving up a little bit, but I just really don't like the price tag on LeBron James at 10.8, given his current ownership. Obviously, LeBron James has no problem justifying a $10,000 and $10,800 price tag. I don't mean it like that, but at his current ownership, I think you need a lot to go right. I don't think it's going to be all that necessary either, or at least I'm betting that it isn't. So Zion is going to be my guy. Actually excited to cheer for that. One final position for us. I've got one guy that stands out clearly above everybody else. I'm really curious to get your thoughts. So I'm going to ask you first before I tip my hand. Do you have a favorite center?
I mentioned two guys that I like. I'm wondering which way you're leaning. At the top of the board right now, it's Bryant and Wiseman. I like both of those guys. I think they're both good pay down options. I think it's probably going to be one of those two guys for you, but I'm not sure which.
I really like Andre Drummond.
Oh, okay. All right, so not going the cheap route there. Let's see.
No, 8,400. Yep. Oh. I think it's a pretty nice spot. He's going to be going up against his boy, Joel Embiid. Embiid has, generally speaking, pounded him into the dirt in the past. People are not going to Andre Drummond. I think this one's going to be a little bit different. I would like to have some Andre Drummond tonight, particularly at his ownership, where I think he's going a little bit underrepresented. You don't have to go crazy for it because, again, Joel Embiid lives in this dude's head. I think that changes at some point in time in the future, and I'm hoping it's tonight. Not to say that I don't like Wiseman and Bryant. They are two of my three favorite centers.
Yeah, and look, Drummond, he makes a ton of sense. Everything you just said is totally justifiable, and we just saw him get there last night in a very big way. He went 23, 16, and 5 with 7 stocks last night. I mean, that's about all you can ask a guy to do. So if he comes close to that again, that's paying off at that minimal ownership. So definitely like that play. And as I'm clicking over into my numbers, it looks like I'm getting to him a little bit probably when I do my sort because I've got him about 3 points higher than the site does. And that's obviously
what do you have,
Matt? He does on his target score.
What do you have, Matt?
45.
Okay. I'm a little higher than you. Nothing too crazy. And I am going to walk it back a little bit because he's popping up pretty aggressively. So I'm not going to need nearly as much as what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good. He's popping up so much that I know that I could walk that back a ton, still be happy with what I'm getting, and be relatively confident that I'm there. Yeah, as long as this dude stays away from avocados, I think I'll be all right. Still ridiculous that he missed games due to avocados, allegedly.
That's a big danger, apparently. People try and like chop into that pit and like slice their hands up and I don't know.
Yeah, so like that would be normal, but to have some sort of eye allergy, that is where I get a little bit confused. I have so much Steph Curry right now, and I don't care. He's incredible.
Yeah, I expect he's going to be in a ton of my lineups here when I do this sort. I'm just now realizing that was actually the note we got from Jordan before the show is now we laughed at him, but now it's coming back to bite me because I didn't change Ralzino Neto in this new sort that I have with his stupid. I mean, it's a wonderful name, but now I got to do it on the fly and fix this in like 4 different spots.
That's what we get for making fun of Jordan on the back end. Jordan, apologies. 1,842 people, 389 likes. I appreciate all of you. I think we could open this up to questions right now. I think it's that kind of night. So premium Slack, if you've got questions, feel free to drop them in. YouTube chat, if you've got questions, feel free to drop them in. I think we could touch on all sorts of stuff. Feels like a questions night. Feels like people were, much like myself, a little bit too focused on football earlier today. Steve Kerr said that Eric Paschall could play some small ball setter, considering the current state of the Golden State Warriors' big situation. How do you feel about that? Because I'm not mad about it.
No, yeah, all the more reason to work some Paschall in and believe that it, like you said, that he will come around. And I'm with you on that. I think he's a guy that we've seen do it in at least some degree of being valuable for DFS. So I definitely think that's good news for us, and hopefully people don't really take note of it, and we can work them in and make them a little sneaky.
That is what I'm hoping as well. First question coming in now. Favorite fade in the top 7 owned people on DraftKings. So let's go ahead and pull that up. I'll let you know who I think it is. And if you beat me to it, feel free to shout yours out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Terrence Ross and above. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's Terrence Ross. 4,700.
In the center spot. That's why. 1 second. Top 7.
Top 7.
We're looking for the favorite fade, eh? I'll just say Trez because he's got the lowest boom percentage, even though I like him as a player. 26 minutes, getting decent ownership. Not that much ownership. Oh, I'm sorry. That's FanDuel. My bad.
Mine's Terrence Ross.
I can back that. Why not?
Okay. Let's see what else we've got. Name someone to pivot off of Neto. Hoodmaster, I need to know what site you're on. Morgan says, what pay down guards do you like on DraftKings that aren't Neto? Apparently a lot of people are trying to get away from Neto today.
Pay down guards on DK that aren't Neto. All right, let's see. Let's get to guard spot here.
Favorite pay down guard on DraftKings that isn't Neto?
I hate sorting their positions because every guy can play every position. It's impossible to sort these.
You want help?
Yeah.
Just type a G in the position spot.
Oh, I'm in my Excel here.
Oh, okay. Well, then I can't help you at all. I mean, you could probably do that same thing too, just filtered to the letter G. I don't really think that there is another comparable pay down option like Neto.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anybody that's at that price that we know is at least going to get that kind of attention in the offense and make things happen.
Right.
Maybe he's more expensive, but maybe like a Thomas Sadaransky, if you wanted to go that route, 4,300. Yeah. I'm just getting down to him. He's not going to be popular, probably not going to be good, but he's there.
Yeah, I don't think that there is that kind of guy today.
Yeah, I'm really not seeing anybody else. Yeah, I almost thought I had one, and it turned out it was Neto.
Who do you like outside of LeBron for small forward on FanDuel? Well, I don't really like LeBron, so that's a good start to that question. I mean, I would rather have Durant than LeBron, just given the different salaries. But Durant, Brandon Ingram, Tobias Harris, I'd be fine with any of those three guys if you're still trying to spend some salary.
Yeah, I'll have pieces of all of those guys. Durant's actually an interesting call. Definitely not getting a lot of attention. Still under 10K by a decent amount, not only 9,500 over on FanDuel. So I can definitely see getting to some KD and just riding the hot start. And, we know that he's going to be getting the ball, and we know that he seems pretty healthy and is getting healthy minutes. So I'd be fine with that.
Okay. Let's see what else we've got coming in here. Are you guys on Karl Anthony Towns? I am not, and I haven't projected in, but I will happily get to like Naz Reid or maybe Ed Davis, depending on if that news comes out and you need to try to mix things up a little bit. But for right now, I'm not even on Towns, and it has nothing to do with his questionable status. So it makes me feel a little bit comfortable that I don't truly care what happens there. I mean, like, I hope he plays. That way I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I kind of with you. I'd rather just not have to deal with it if he doesn't go. Just did a sword here's, and let's see if I'm getting to him at all. Yeah, I'm not getting to him. I don't think I will. Okay. He is he's somewhat interesting just based on the idea of nobody else being there if he does go and gets a full run, but not a guy that's coming up for me based on the way I do things.
Okay. Favorite FanDuel game stack? It's not something I think about, so I don't really have one.
Yeah. That's not something I ever look for.
Let's see. Do you think Schroeder soaks up a ton of AD usage? I wouldn't say a ton, but I mean, he'll be one of the first people in line. I think Kuzma picks up a little bit of it, and I think that'll be important. I think Montrezl Harrell has the opportunity to soak up a little bit more than normal. But mostly, like, it's going to be LeBron. It's going to be the guys you expect. Schroeder, LeBron, Harrell on the second unit. Those guys are going to soak it up first.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything completely out of the ordinary. It makes sense that Schroeder would get some of that because he's a guy that's going to be a focal point in that offense. He's a guy that they brought in to do that. So, yeah, of course, I think that makes a ton of sense that he would get it.
All right, let's see what else we've got here. Favorite cheap DraftKings power forward? That we can do. That would be... Depending on what, oh my God, I don't know if there is one.
Cheap?
It depends on what you consider cheap, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Like PJ Washington is 5,400.
Yep, that's exactly the guy I was looking at. If you want to go down to, you mentioned him earlier, Bagley, only 5,700. I think maybe that makes sense as well. A little bit less ownership. We saw him, he had a decent game last night as well. Let's see where he was. Yeah, Bagley was 13 points, 11 boards in just 20 minutes last night, so he can put up those numbers. Miles Bridges?
I just don't think that there's a pay down power forward option. Like, sometimes the answer is just that there isn't one.
Yeah.
Any news you're paying attention to after lock for a late swap? For me right now, the answer is no, and I won't pay attention to it. I will just simply make sure that I get all of my alerts from the news god.
That's right. That's what I lean on heavily in every single sport, pretty much all day, every day. If he doesn't have it, it doesn't exist. But if he doesn't have it, I missed it. So, yeah, definitely going to be leaning on him. And I typically don't find out what news that's going to be until after lock, when I can kind of take a minute and check, especially when I'm trying to crunch all this and do the show.
Best pay up option for DK cash if you already have Steph.
I will let you take that one as the guy who's jumped into the cash world.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably lean towards Beal if you're looking to get like higher than Steph Curry. I think that you'll feel probably safest with LeBron. The ownership is there, comparable numbers to Giannis, but you're saving an additional 500. I think they have relatively similar outlooks tonight. So if you're trying to go north of Curry, to me it's LeBron over Giannis, just because of AD being out. If you're not worried about going north of Curry, then I think going to Bradley Beal in a more balanced build is probably pretty easy. What else do we have? What else do we have? We have 15 minutes until lock, everybody. Still got about 1,800 people in here. We're going to get this north of 500 likes. That's kind of exciting for a Sunday live before lock when the NFL season's still going on.
Kill it. Thanks, guys.
Whew. All right. Hen dog. Buckle up for this one. Jarrett Culver or Troy Brown in a DK GPP?
For DK too, huh? Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, neither probably. Troy Brown seems like
that's the guy I was kind of leaning toward just because the opportunity might pop up. I was just trying to get to where the price was. 4,200. Yeah. I can deal with that.
Yeah. It's Troy Brown, but like neither is probably the better answer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've already forgotten who the other guy was.
Yeah. The Jared Culver, who it's just not him.
Yeah, obviously we're not excited.
All right. Bryant, Wiseman, Biyombo. Rank them in FanDuel for GPP/cash. I don't know what that means.
For me, it would be Wiseman, Bryant, Biyombo.
Biyombo's last for sure. I will take Bryant over Wiseman, but I think that's pretty close. Any interest in Kuzma in a DK GPP? He seems a little expensive.
I mean, we've hit on all the reasons that he's in play tonight a bunch of different times already. I think he's firmly on the board. He's a guy that nobody's ever really excited to roster. He's getting all the attention he's getting seems to be over on FanDuel. He's only getting 6% ownership over on DK, 5,700. I don't love what we're showing for him on the boom percentage or any of that. So I think there's probably forward plays that you can work in from DK with just all the positional flexibility that I like better than him. Yeah. But there's justifiable narrative around he's going to get minutes, usage, and all the things we've talked about. So he's in play, but definitely less exciting over there.
Thank you to Nick Springer for the super chat. No question, just a super chat. So, Nick, I appreciate you. If you do have a question, feel free to drop it into chat. Do you think LeVert at 5,800 is too expensive if the game stays close? Yes.
$5,800 LeVert? Yeah, probably. I'd like to see him get a little bit more just kind of, if we're going to spend that much, I want him to be a little bit more of a focus of the offense, maybe get him toward 28, 30 minutes. So, yeah, there's not going to be anybody on him. So if you wanted to justify it from that perspective, then I could maybe see it, but not a play I'm excited about. If I got him, I don't think I'd go to great lengths to take him out of my lineups, but he's not a guy who's really exploding into them for me.
I feel the exact same way. I don't have any LeVert right now. Let's go ahead and get these lineups uploaded. That way I'll feel a little bit better. Any thoughts on Naz Reid? Nothing. I'm just assuming Karl Anthony Towns is playing until he's not playing. Generally speaking, Karl Anthony Towns just plays. So, and while that might not have been the case last year when they were in a sort of lost season, I think this year is sort of going to be back to normal. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't play. I just expect him to be out there more often.
Yeah, agreed. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go. So I'm not going to worry about that. Like I said, until we know there's news, then we can sweat it, and we kind of know that that's going to be the change.
Thoughts on Looney on DraftKings? I don't really have any interest.
Same. I can see where the question's coming from, just because we know Chris is going to be out and where those minutes going to go. But Yeah, I don't think that's somebody I want to get excited about. 3,500, very, very cheap. But, I think there are better ways to get cheap at that position.
Is today the day that Wiggins or Oubre are actually productive?
So bad. I'm not excited about either guy, but I think there's justifiable ways to get to them, like we've talked about. They're both at reasonable prices. Wiggins 6,600 was coming up a little bit and not getting very much ownership at all over on FanDuel. Getting a little attention on DraftKings at 6,300, so I don't like him as much over there. But on FanDuel, I'll have some Wiggins, I think, even kind of begrudgingly.
Let me see what I have right now of the old Wig. Where is he? I have 4% Andrew Wiggins right now. I think I'll probably just hang out right there. I'm kind of good. I am not getting any Ben Simmons, and I think that I need to bump him a little bit. Let's go ahead and try to get a little bit more Ben Simmons. Try to get a little bit more Ben Simmons.
What's wrong with Ben?
I think Ben Simmons is a little sneaky today. What do you think? Do you have any Ben Simmons?
Just clicking over to try and find him. It doesn't look like he's coming up very much for me either. So
I'm bumping him up a little bit in my stuff. Not that I'm going to get a ton, but I'm trying to get to 8 to 10%. I want to make sure that I didn't really have much of anything. So I want to make sure what I'm doing right now, just I guess people would find this interesting. I'm going through all the guys that grade out pretty well for me that I'm seeing I don't have in my lineups and just manually bumping up a couple guys to make sure that I get to everything that I could get to. 9 minutes until lock, people. If you don't have your lineups in, or if you don't have a good dummy lineup in, stop what you're doing and make sure that you upload at least one lineup of functional human beings. I promise you'll feel good. Just grab the first one you see, put it in your entire CSV, and just upload that first. It'll be worth it. Nick Springer says, what is your full lineup looking at tonight? I'm playing 150 of them. I don't think that I could read off all 150 for you right now. And I'm not playing any cash tonight, although that will start soon enough. Still getting over the holidays.
For hoops yet?
No, I haven't really jumped into anything for hoops yet, just because of the holidays. My parents were in town up until yesterday. We went to go see my wife's mother yesterday, so I just too much going on. Rough time. Josh reads his 150 on his OnlyFans. I certainly do. And I guess I should probably get an OnlyFans as well.
Apparently, I actually know what that is.
I wish that I didn't. I've never been to the site. That much I can tell you, and that's not a joke.
No,
really never.
Yeah, I pretty much only know what it is from people making jokes about what it is. Like,
yes.
So yeah, never been to it.
That is exactly the way that I know it as well, because people make jokes about it. Thoughts on Satoransky in a DK GPP?
Yeah, I think he was the name that we came up with, or at least that I threw out there when we were scanning for an alternate cheap guy to play the point over there instead of Neto. So yeah, if that's what you're looking for and that's what you want to do, he's in play from that perspective. Definitely not a guy I'm making any effort to get to or get excited about, though.
Yeah, same. Man, I have all of the Steph Curry tonight.
Oh, I don't know. I got a few of them myself. Where are you at?
Are you north of 90?
I'm not. I didn't end up north of 90. So you beat
okay.
me.
I win. I win. Yeah, it's
solid.
It's just all it's all Steph tonight, and I'm more than okay with that. Yeah, I mean, look, at 8,300, what he goes for. What's his boom on FanDuel? Yeah, 50% boom. I'll take my chances. I will take my chances.
You see a boom 50% and an ownership 50% on a guy at that price, though. Usually those are that's a comparison that you see when a guy's 3,900 and backup getting 30 minutes, where you see a big boom percentage and a big ownership like that. So he's in an interesting position. It looks like I'm going to be around 78%. I just crammed a few Ben Simmons lineups in there just since you brought it up. My brain works that way. I can't talk about it and then not do it. So I had to cram a few in there, so I might have lost a little bit, but he's by far my highest owned player.
I'm bumping up D'Angelo Russell right now as well. He's a guy that I don't have much of, but I like the idea of at least having a bit just in case Karl Anthony Towns ends up out. And I think that he's a little bit under-owned right now. So he's at 7%, I believe, on the last run. Although I don't know if we've gotten an ownership update recently. Last one was 9 minutes ago.
I'm getting to a little Russell as well. Didn't do anything to manually push him up, so it looks like I'm going to be getting probably around the field if he's still around that number.
Okay. I am up to 17% on him, and I'm pretty happy about that. I got a little bit of Ben Simmons. I got a little bit of LaMelo Ball. I probably have too much Steph, but I'm cool with it being him being the guy. A lot of Patrick Williams, a lot of Denny, a lot of Kevin Durant. Not enough Larry Nance. That's a guy that I want to bump up right now. And this is just sort of like a look behind the curtain. I like walking my way through to find out if I'm missing anybody, because there's nothing worse than seeing a guy that grades out well to you personally, and then you lock and find out that you don't have him, and then he starts to smash.
Absolutely.
It's the worst feeling in the world. All right, so Larry Nance, come on down. Anybody at power forward? I've already got Pascal and Bagley, so I don't have to go too crazy there. I've already got Andre Drummond in a healthy amount of lineups, so I'm comfortable there. I'm feeling good. Does Bledsoe bounce back? Got to bounce somewhere at this point. Jeez. He'll be fine.
Can you take that one? I got a crunching.
Oh yeah. I don't know if Eric Bledsoe bounces back today, but he will be fine ultimately. Eric Bledsoe is really good. He just so happens to have some playoff foibles, but he's never a problem in the regular season, and I don't expect him to be starting now. So don't sweat Eric Bledsoe in the long term. I wouldn't. Any other questions? Let's see. What do you think about Pascal as a value on DK? I like him. I've liked him the first couple of games. I'm going to like him again today. I think he's better than what his performance has been. And in a game against the Bulls, I think it's very different because that is a defense that isn't a defense. See what else we've got. Does Middleton hold value? Not a guy that I've really been looking at today. I sort of forgot that he was on the slate. I have 1% of him. I guess I should bump him up, but I'm also not super stressed about it. I'll probably come back. That'll probably come back to bite me in the ass. Sexton or Gordon Hayward at utility? That's got to be Hayward.
Yeah. Don't love either of those options, but I think it's definitely Hayward.
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty good about my lineups right now.
I'm not feeling good about the idea that this crunch is not in yet.
Halen Horton Tucker at 3,200 on DraftKings. Not somebody that I'm looking at. Guys, 470 likes. Can we push that number north of 500 before we get out of here? We've got 3 minutes to go to a lock. If you've got your lineups in already, perfect time for you guys to just hit that thumbs up and help us out a bit. Rarely from me.
I'll have some.
But I have a little bit of him. I think he's overowned. But I do have some.
My upload isn't working here.
I'm just going with what I've got in here right now. A little nervous about it. My entire night hinges on Steph Curry. If Steph goes for 55 plus, look for me at the top. It's going to be a good night. And I don't mind hitching my wagon to Steph. What time is that game? Please be early.
Later.
Of course it is.
Sorry, I got a complete disaster here.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I could run us into the end of this. How much did that shirt cost, Josh? I don't know how much it cost. This was a gift from my wife for Christmas. The old Dennis Rodman shirt. So, yeah, there's that. If Towns is out, is the Wolves game blowout? I don't ever really pay much attention to blowouts. Any thoughts on PJ Washington? Prefer him or Osman? So I think it's easier for Chetty to get some run here. But I'm a huge PJ Washington fan just in general. I don't really have a ton today, at least not on FanDuel at 5,300. But I think the future is bright for him, particularly if he gets a lot more time at the center spot as a stretch five. Jeff Green off the bench thoughts. Don't play Jeff Green. Patrick Williams or no? Yes. T McBee's pupils are huge, scrambling.
Can you guys hear my heart beating through the microphone?
I have been down that road before. You have
no idea if they
5 seconds.
Woo, they got it.
There it is. Gets the lineups in under the gun.
Man, that was fun.
7 o'clock. We are at lock. And this one is over. 535 likes, I might add. It's a great
Appreciate
day.
the patience, guys. Appreciate all the likes. Sorry I wasn't with you there for the last 5 minutes or so. Turns out I wasn't saving the file to the desktop. I was just closing it because I am brilliant and I like to make my life difficult.
This isn't the final show of the day, by the way. We've got NFL Live Before Lock for Showdown tonight, coming up in about 20 minutes. Emac and Kyle taking you all the way up to 8 and change whenever the NFL slate locks, probably 8:20 if I had to guess. So you get a full hour of Live Before Lock tonight, too, so don't miss that. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. Use the promo code Caruso if you want to sign up. You got 2 more days before this promo ends. Get our NBA package for $1. That's it. That's all I've got. Good luck to you guys. Terry, good luck to you as well. We're out of here. Jordan, hit that music. What should I have been?
Really?